Hi, everyone. My name is Gina. Just over here at A2IM. Thank you to Jason, Michael, and Sung Cho for hosting this webinar today. They're the guys from Chartmetric. So yeah, I don't want to waste everyone's time here and blabber on. So you guys can go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Well, I'll kick it off. Hi, everyone. My name's Mike or Michael, depending on how well you know me and what you'd like to refer to me as. Part of the Chartmetric team, I look after artist and label relations, but kind of wear many hats, not just within Chartmetric, but within the music industry. So very quickly, independent artists, been releasing music for 5 years now, various music projects, learnt a lot going the independent route, and always happy to share that information with everyone in the form of, I've written a book, host podcasts, but this isn't about me, it's about you. You're tuned in. We want to hit you with some information and some knowledge that hopefully you don't already know, because I know a number of you are very smart. We've had a look at the attendees list, so we're going to try and blow your mind a little bit more today. Jason, did you want to jump in and say hi there as well?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. My name's Jason Hoeven. I am the music data storyteller for Chartmetric, which basically means I create a lot of kind of branded content for the company. We make a short podcast Monday through Friday. We do a little kind of like Monday through Friday, 3-minute deep dive into like various bits of music data. We do a lot of articles, kind of like long form deep dive articles on music data subjects. Our last one was by our data scientist, Josh, who dipped into the gender gap in the music charts, which is pretty cool. And so I manage that. And then I also work on a lot of special kind of client projects. So it has to do with like music data and kind of trying to find the value in it and trying to apply it to the product as well. That's kind of like my responsibility. Should I just go ahead and dip into it, Mike?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Myself as well. Like 1 second.
Oh, yes.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. What's up?
Some familiar names here. Hi, Nick. Yeah, thanks for joining. So, yeah, this is my baby, number 2. It's spring break, so I'm staying at home this morning. Just came back from Santa Barbara, beautiful Santa Barbara, by the way. So I'm CEO, founder of this company, Chartmetric. I started this company about 3 years ago, and now we have wonderful team of 6 people, including Jason and Mike on the team. So we know there are other data metrics tools out there, but yeah, this at least she's not dancing around. Okay, so we are trying to see how we can like provide different values here, different perspectives. So the way we built a tool so far was always thinking about what is the easiest and most efficient ways for our users to find out the trends, find out just quickly, like see what's happening in the market and where is our artist positioned inside that market space. So we want to talk about just broadly like a data, like music data issues, and then also want to talk about some of the some key features that we have implemented and explain why we wanted to show the data that way. That's going to be the topic of our webinar. So back to Mike and Jason. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Sung. So just to kind of set up the next 45 minutes, we just wanted to take a second to talk about kind of music analytics from like a larger perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen.
And while Jason is getting his screen up and running, if anyone does have any questions, by all means, please feel free to put them in here. We may my English has gone bad. We may hold off on answering them until later so that we can get through this first, but please get those questions in as they come up so that we can get back to you in this 45 minutes as well, or as long as it takes. If we need to stick around longer, we will happily do that as well. Jason, I see you set up. I'm going to mute myself.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. Don't worry, there's only 4 slides here and they'll go super fast. We're not doing a death by PowerPoint thing here. But really quick, in just terms of like the music and data kind of kind of like the need that we think is out there, you know, tracking thousands of playlists and artists and charts, you know, across a lot of different countries as well. It can be very fragmented and time consuming. So that's kind of like why a lot of these tools, including Chartmetric, are out there. Of course, if you're a label or an artist yourself or a manager with maybe a whole roster of artists that you're kind of like taking watch over, you have your various backends such as Spotify for artists or Apple Music for artists. You know, you have your Instagram backends as well, which is great for everything that you do personally or what your clients do themselves. But in terms of kind of placing like where you are amongst your peers and your competition, that's kind of like where we try to step in kind of from the market perspective and giving you a perspective on kind of what all your own numbers mean, because if you kind of look at it in a vacuum, it's sometimes not as useful. So that's kind of where a lot of these music analytics tools try to step in. You know, here's our cool little logo garden of all the different kind of streaming and social media data sources that we have. You know, you can access a lot of these on your own, you know, whether it be through Chartmetric or other tools. But, you know, I think having them in one place is one thing that the music analytics tools do very, very well. And then, you know, a lot of the tools go back historically, whereas, for example, some charts that you'd like to check out, maybe like the YouTube charts or Spotify charts, they'll have it to a certain degree historically, but we kind of store that indefinitely. A lot of our data sources go back to like late 2016 almost. So if you want to kind of do a kind of big, long leap analytical deep dive, you can do that with a lot of these tools. And, you know, besides just Chartmetric, just so it's not just a Chartmetric show, you know, we wanted to mention a couple other tools that are out there just to give you perspective, because I know it could be a very confusing thing. There's a lot of different services out there and trying to figure out, you know, who's best at what. We just wanted to mention a couple. Next Big Sound is another really great tool. One of the co-founders, one of my former professors when I went to music biz school. A really awesome tool. They got acquired by Pandora a few years ago, so they have a lot of really cool Pandora data, have a really cool interface. We definitely recommend checking them out if you want to. It's a great tool. Another one as well is Spot on Track. If you're just super focused on, you know, the really quick information on what Spotify playlist you're on, for example, they have that information. It's Spotify only, so if you want to keep it nice and streamlined, they're another really great service that's out there as well. You know, of course, you know, we love Chartmetric as our tool, but, you know, we just thought it was worth mentioning that. I think that's it for this part for me, Mike, if you wanted to go into maybe like a bit of a walkthrough.
Yeah, sure. Just adding on to what you said there as well, Jason. As far as, you know, obviously those tools you mentioned, Next Big Sound is free. Spot on Track, I believe there's a fee involved. Of course, for artists, you also have access to artists.spotify.com, aka Spotify for Artists, and artists.apple.com as well. So if you're watching this and you haven't signed up to either of those, do that immediately, because that's going to give you some great data as well, including, which a lot of people are always chasing, stream counts by playlist placement. So if you get a song that's added to playlist A, you'll see how many streams you're actually getting from that playlist directly. So that information is free. If you're an artist, you should have access to that information for yourself. What we're seeing a lot of people using Chartmetric for, which I'm kind of leading into here, is looking at similar artists, not so much comparing. You're not necessarily competing with them because you can both have that audience. You don't need to take that audience from them. It's not like it's an exclusive business as such. So we're seeing a lot of artists using Chartmetric to monitor similar artists as well and see what they're doing. And sometimes that could be seeing a playlist that artist is getting placed on. It could be some successful social media posts they've had. They may have similar artists under their related artists or fans also like. It's also called now on Spotify. So that being said, let me start sharing my screen here. And let me just make sure we got the right window. Okay, Jason, if you can just confirm that you can now see my screen on Chartmetric looking at Lauv's page, fantastic. I will take that as a yes. Yes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to sort of skim over the top. I've done demos on this where they can run for over an hour and we get really deep and detailed. And I want to leave some space at the end for questions. Some of you may already be familiar with Chartmetric here. So forgive me if I do skip over some parts of this, but feel free to ask any questions because I'm sure there will be some at the end. So up the top here, you can see we have a summary of various data points and information relating to this artist. So in this case, we're looking at Lauv. Every artist on Chartmetric has a page. Every song has a page, every album has a page, every playlist, every curator has a page on Chartmetric that you can follow. So you may not be following every single song from an artist, or you may just want to follow a curator or a playlist. So you can follow whatever you would like on here, and then that will show on your dashboard, and you can also get that sent to you in automated reports to your email as well. So scrolling down here, what we can see in this summary, we can see all of the social media that we are tracking on Chartmetric and the streaming services that we are tracking. As Jason mentioned, we started in November 2016. So most of this data goes back that far for these artists. And I'm just going to shuffle my screen around here so I can see the rest. So at the top, we have a summary of daily new followers, likes, and views across Spotify, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Wikipedia. As we scroll down, we can see Spotify data first and foremost, so we can see the follower growth over time. And we can see daily spikes in follower increases or sometimes decreases if a lesser number was added to a prior day. We've got the Spotify popularity index, which some people aren't that familiar with. So the Spotify popularity index is a number out of a possible 100. So multiple artists could be 100 out of 100 at the same time. And to give you an idea, for example, Drake, when he was everywhere, when he dropped the new album on Spotify, he hit 100 out of 100 there at one point. Other artists like Ed Sheeran, Rihanna have done the same. So what we find is that for most artists, once they get past roughly a 40 or a 50 in the popularity index, that's starting to show some really good signs of growth. And it's not uncommon if an artist doesn't release music for a few months for that popularity score to drop down. It doesn't mean that they're less popular, but right now their music isn't popping as much. It's probably been removed from some newer playlists. And once they release that next track, we usually see an increase in that once again. So that number is delivered directly from Spotify itself. And you can use that as a guide to track your popularity on Spotify. We also show monthly listeners, of course. So if you have 100,000 monthly listeners, that's 100,000 unique people with a Spotify account that have listened to at least 30 seconds of one of your songs. And of course, 30 seconds being key, because if they listen for less than 30 seconds, that doesn't count as a stream and you don't get paid for that. And you don't see that number reflected anywhere. Now, scrolling down, we're starting to get into the social media here. We can see a summary of Facebook fans and the number of people talking about this artist on Facebook. Instagram, we can see followers here. And what's really cool is we can start to get an understanding of, let's say they had a significant increase in followers on Instagram recently, and we see that reflected on here. We can click this little plus and it will show us the Instagram posts that were made on that date. So what we've seen, an example of this, we'll see an artist announce that they're performing on Saturday Night Live or Jimmy Kimmel. And what will happen is we'll see a significant increase in followers the next day for those artists. Other examples would be the first artists who share the Coachella lineup. They get a lot of engagement on social media if they're one of the first to post that, as you can imagine. The same applies for Twitter here as well. Once again, if you click the plus as you're looking at the timeline here, you will see any posts that went on Twitter that day, or tweets, if you will. Then we have Wikipedia Views as well. Now, the reason that we track Wikipedia Views is when you search for an artist in Google or most search engines, the first search result is usually not the official website. It's usually their Wikipedia page. So this is a good indication of how many people may actively be trying to find more information about that artist. Down here, we also have YouTube subscribers and YouTube video views, and SoundCloud followers and Deezer followers as well. Moving on, we can also see some interesting data here relating to TV and movie sync. So if you have a publisher, or if you're self-published, or however you are getting your music out there, if you get a sync or a placement in a film or a TV show, you'll be able to see that in here. What's really cool is you'll be able to see the original air date. And let's say it's a TV show such as Dancing with the Stars that gets repeated once or twice in that week. You'll see the other air dates there as well. And yes, we do show movies on Netflix as well. And we also have TV show appearances here. So let's say you're doing a live performance, as we can see here on Jimmy Kimmel Live. You can see those appearances as well, in addition to interviews where perhaps the artist isn't actually speaking, isn't actually performing, they're just speaking. You'll be able to see those appearances where they go on and do a live interview perhaps. Now, we're at Neighbor Artists, but I know Jason wanted to chime in at some point and speak to this as well. Jason, would you like to jump in and talk about Neighbor Artists now, or would you like me to skip past that and let you jump on after?
I'll go ahead and jump in real quick. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
You can actually just, go, if you want to just go ahead and keep it on there, we can just keep it on your screen. But as you can see from what Mike's doing, you can access this from an artist profile itself, or you can access it from an artist list, which is kind of like it shows a bunch of artists according to maybe by Spotify followers or Spotify monthly listeners or different social media statistics like Instagram followers. But right now on the artist page, as you can see here for Love, you can see that's keyed in on his row right there going across your screen. And right now it's keyed in on Spotify monthly listeners. So it kind of shows as a default 5 up and 5 down. 5 artists that have a similar amount of, Love is at 26.09 million Spotify monthly listeners in the past 28 days. And you can see Lil Nas X with his huge single Old Town Road, and then Kanye West because he's Kanye. And then, a lot of other artists that are kind of in the same ballpark, and, that's just for monthly listeners, but you can do that by Spotify popularity, Deezer fans, Spotify followers. Mike, do you mind if you just go to the artist list page real quick? But basically the idea here, the artist list, that shows like all the different artists.
Yeah, sure. I'm just not actually seeing the link on my screen. I've got some sizing issues here, so I may not be able to locate that.
Probably if you just scroll, I think if you scroll all the way up, I think you'll get there. But essentially, like the idea with the neighboring artists is to get an idea of maybe who your competition is, or maybe someone that you want to maybe even collaborate with, and then maybe you can check out their profile. You can see what playlists that they're on, or what shows that they have playing, off of our Songkick data. I think that's kind of like what we're kind of go for as a use case for this kind of displaying of information. Thanks, Mike. And then, so this is the other place where you can see the neighboring artists is in the artist list, as you can see in front of you right now. And if Mike clicks on any one of those statistics on the right, you'll see something similar pop up. If he clicks on Ariana's, Spotify followers, you'll see, other artists that also have, a similar amount of Spotify followers. And, you can also click on, if you want to see more, I think the options right now are 5, 10, 20, or I think maybe even 50 artists up and down. So that's just the idea with neighboring artists. It's one of our newest features, so we're pretty proud of it. So hopefully, if you have an account, you can check it out and have fun with it. But that's it. Back to you, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. I know it's a very new feature, and to be honest, I haven't had much of an opportunity to play with it myself. It's that new, so I'm kind of seeing this for the first time as well. It's exciting. Very cool. So moving on here, next up we have audience. So this is your top cities by listeners. So we can see here, of course, we're looking at Spotify. Then as we move down, we're looking at YouTube video views. And then down here, Instagram follower analysis. Now, this is really detailed and is a very new feature that we have. Obviously, we must mention there are other tools out there that can provide something similar to this as well. But it's nice that we've been able to incorporate this here into Chartmetric. So we'll show you our version today for the sake of sharing this. But this will show you information about your followers on Instagram, and not just your followers, but if you are You can also look at another artist and look at their Instagram following as well to get an understanding of what their fans may look like. So we can see gender, background, age, countries, cities, brand affinity as well, as far as what brands those followers also tend to follow and engage with. We can see the native languages of them, as well as interests. And we can see some of their most significant followers in terms of following. So we can see, of course, here that some of those followers include Marshmello and Liam Payne as well. And then down here, we can see the most popular mentions. So anytime they tag somebody in a post on Instagram, you'll start to see who those most popular mentions are here, as well as most popular hashtags and the brand affinity for that artist, not for their following, but for that artist themselves. Down here, we can see top posts. So of course, you can also click here and you can go directly to that post on Instagram, and unless it's been deleted like that, of course. And you'll be able to view those posts directly as well from here. Then we're going to jump ahead to Airplay. So obviously, getting played on radio is still highly significant and very important for any artist. It's not just about streaming. That's why we had to include this information as well. We're starting off with US radio stations. So if you'd like to see the list of the stations we're tracking, there is a link right here. But the way that this works is it will show you airplay by day, number of spins, which is number of times the song was played on a particular day, and by station here on the right as well. AQH is the average quarter-hour listeners for that radio station. Down here, we have top markets by spins. So we can see that the most spins are happening in New York, followed by Phoenix, then Chicago. The list goes on. We have top 10 markets by market share here as well. What I like is when we get into the details here and we see, let's have a look. I Like Me Better was played 6 times. If we click anywhere on that row, you'll see here, it will drop down and show you not only the date that it was played, but the air time. Now, for an independent artist, when you get your first play on radio, this is key, this is crucial. And the reason is, you want to know exactly what time it was played, and you want to know who played it so that you can potentially reach out to them, say thank you, firstly, and then see if you can give them some other music. They may even come back to you and say, we'd love to get you on, have an interview, play another one of your tracks. I mean, that's a win-win. That's fantastic. So what you can do here with that is, let's say you wanted to find out more details about that specific station. You click on that blue text. Anytime it's blue, it's a link in Chartmetric. And then we go to the radio stations page. And of course, the radio station has a page here. And what we can do as we scroll down, we can see all of the social media details for most of these stations, as well as the website, so you can reach out to them. And then you can scroll down, see the most played artists on that station, the most played tracks. And then what I really like as well is you can see the track list and the airtime. So you can go back and see what song was played before and after your song on the radio. So if you get played right before or after one of your favorite artists, that is the biggest compliment that you can get. And we've actually seen some artists go as far as taking screenshots, posting it on social media and going, oh my God, I can't believe I got played at 7 p.m. right after Ed Sheeran or something. And so you've got that information here, which you can use to your advantage. I mean, it's one thing to see this and be aware that this happened, but the steps that you take next are going to continue to drive your success further by reaching out to these stations, saying thank you. You may get more opportunities coming your way as a result. So jumping down here, next up we have playlists. Obviously, playlists being a very big word right now and has been for the last few years, but we track playlists across various services. We do Spotify, Apple Music, and Deezer. As I mentioned, of course, you do have access to Spotify for artists, for yourself, where you can see those playlists you've been added to and streaming numbers and such. But in here, you can go to any artist page and have a look at how they're tracking across playlists. So what we've got Spotify current playlists. What we do is we show you the position in that playlist. So it's one thing to get added to a playlist with 100,000 followers, but if you're positioned 250 of 250 down the bottom of that list, you may not be getting that many people actually listening. So that's why we started to work out the average that's why we started to work out the average monthly listeners on Spotify for a playlist. So you can see here, for some of these playlists, we have a estimated number of monthly listeners. And that's unique individuals that have listened to that song on the playlist. And of course, it's an estimate because that number can change day by day, and not everyone necessarily listens to a playlist in its entirety. Some people listen to 5 songs and then change playlists. Some people listen on shuffle, etc. But this is the equivalent of going into Spotify on your desktop, going to a playlist, looking at a song towards the top of that playlist, clicking on the artist's name, going to their about page, and looking at the little discovered on section where you will see the top 5 playlists that artist is being discovered on and the number of monthly listeners that are listening to that artist on that specific playlist. So we've basically done the equivalent of that and then brought that in here and given you these estimates to hopefully save you a little bit of time and let you know how active some of these playlists are and how many listeners you could potentially get by being placed on one of these. Moving on, we also have Apple Music current playlists, very similar to what you saw before with Spotify, but the addition of playlists by country. So Apple Music have playlists that are changed in different countries. So for example, you might have Friday Feeling, as we can see here, and your song might be added in 10 countries as opposed to worldwide. So this will show you exactly which countries you can find your song on that playlist. So that if you go and do a social media post saying, hey, check us out on Friday Feeling on Apple Music, and you post a link, you may want to only target people in these 9 countries. So when they click the link, they actually see your song there and they don't go looking and they can't actually find it. Moving on to Deezer playlists here. So with Deezer, what we've got is we've got all of the playlists here, but one thing that's really cool is for the person in the editorial team at Deezer, they have their own curator profile. So we're not giving you their email address or their contact details or anything like that, of course. That's on you for those relationships, but you will see their first name here. And that means that you know that it's somebody in the Deezer editorial team, you know their first name, and you know the playlist that they curate. So I found this particularly useful just to sort of familiarize myself with who might be curating, what they might be looking for. So by having that, you might be able to use that to your advantage as far as knowing who you might need to be reaching and who the biggest influencers are. Now, a recent feature we had added as well is Amazon Music current playlists. And please, Sung and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong here, but as far as I know, we're the only person who has Amazon Music playlists available at this time. So what we've got, yep, I see the thumbs up there. That's perfect.
Well. Yeah, I don't know any other either.
Fantastic. So Amazon Music, obviously still very new, but growing very quickly. With most people having an Amazon device in their house of some sort, it's become very accessible. And of course, being able to request music by voice is essential. So quick tip for any artists out there, if you're creating a new project or you're thinking of new artist name, just keep in mind that in the future, people are going to be speaking when they request your music. So make sure that people can say it and make sure that they know how to say it early on, because with Amazon Music in particular, everything is voice tagged for Alexa. So every playlist, every artist, every song. So yes, have a unique artist name. We're not telling you to change your name right now, but just keep that in mind if you are making any changes in future, that you want people to be able to say your name. This translates into radio as well. You know, if people back announce your song on radio, you want people to understand what they're saying and know how to look you up. So in this case, make sure that people can say it so that Amazon can play it. And what you've got on here is, of course, at this time, there's no third-party user playlists on Amazon Music that are available to follow. So it's all curated in-house by Amazon Music's team. That's why you're going to see the curator name is Amazon Music's experts for all of these currently. But you will see all of the playlists. And anytime you see a little icon here in Chartmetric, you can click that and it will take you directly to that playlist in the relative streaming service as well. Moving on, we have a breakdown of the charts, and this will show you the Spotify daily charts, which is global and by country, Spotify viral charts as well. We've got Apple Music charts in here, the daily top 100, the genre charts. Yes, iTunes is in here as well. iTunes, of course, is based on purchases, whereas Apple Music is based on streams. We've also got Amazon charts in here as well. Shazam, Beatport, the list goes on. So with these, obviously, you've got a nice summary at the top. And then if you want to go into more detail on these, you can also simply click on them and then it will open up and give you all of the positions. As you can appreciate with Love, there's a lot of activity on Shazam in particular. So my computer is just having a little bit of a think about that while processing. So we'll move on, but
yeah,
feel free to explore
just
that.
take one moment here. Go up and like click on any point on Spotify chart. Can you move up? And then also
Yes.
one more to mention is you can choose between overall and track. So track will show this track by track score. So just quickly, what does the score mean here? If you mouse over, let's see, I'm so tired, the top one. So 45, that number itself doesn't mean that much. It's relative to anything else at other artists. But if you click, please. This score is, it's broken down here. As you can see, I'm so tired has got 41 points in the United States, 37 in the United Kingdom. But quickly, you can notice that, rank 74 versus 17. So UK, ranking is much higher, almost at the top, but the score is lower, as you can expect, as you can imagine. It's because of the country weight we have applied. Maybe you should add a column here. We should, to give the weight. But by the way, the weight we are using here is the digital revenue from IFPI. We use that as a weight to give proper weight for each country. And then, of course, there's another weight to the rank. The higher the rank, the higher score you get. But this is not linear. It's a log function to accurately reflect the fact that number one, it's getting way, way higher streams or downloads compared to number 10 or number 100. So it tapers off to the end. Just wanted to quickly give a,
Sure.
Okay, let's move on. Yeah,
Thank
we're
you, Sam.
almost done with this artist page, by the way. So let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last couple of things on this artist page here is, of course, a summary of the tracks. So every track the artist has released, release date, ISRC, a summary of Spotify, Apple Music, and Deezer playlists. What's interesting here is you'll be able to see the label. So if they've released with record labels in the past, things like that, or if they created their own label, you'll be able to see the label name as well. And then down here, we have Songkick concerts. So we can see upcoming concerts, and then we can also see past concerts as well, and when they were held. And then, of course, we can click directly in here, and it will take us to that concert within Songkick, so we can get more information about that show or that concert as well. Now, I wanted to see, Jason, if you wanted to jump back in, if you had more to add on this, and I'd like to take a look and see if there's any questions that we can answer at this time as well.
Yeah, for sure. And everyone who just, I think I didn't mention this before, but everyone who's attending, just thank you for being here and sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it. I answered a few questions, Mike, in the Q&A, but if anyone else has any other questions, please do send us them, and we can talk to them about them live, but I've just been kind of typing away at them. But if anyone has more Q&A that they want us to talk about right now while we're still here together, please just mention it. But with a few minutes that we have left, I just wanted to mention this new feature that we just came out with that we're really, really proud of. We've been working really, really hard on it. And it is our cities page. Mike, can you see that? Can everybody see that?
I can. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things we try to do with the data that we have is kind of give you different ways to access it. And I know that sounds pretty vague, but I think you'll get what I mean when a lot of the tools will let you kind of look at data by just by artist name. Which is the most popular way. But I think one way that people might kind of think of this differently is looking at it from a geographic perspective. As you can see, what you're looking at here, all these cool pictures of different cities in the US, and it's not just the US that we provide this for, but we kind of show if you're interested in a certain city, let's say you want to tour there, or you want to target social media advertising in a certain location, we try to give you some information through this tool to do that kind of thing. So as you can see, we kind of sort these by population, descending order. You've got a couple filters up here by country, and then once you get down to a certain country, let's just do, let's do France. You can see some of the French cities that pop up, and you can click into those as well. I've already taken a look at LA, so let's just go through that real quick. Some basic information up top. You can click through to the Wikipedia article if you just want to find out some cool stuff about the city that you're looking at. But after that, we kind of have like a hometown artists section here. Artists that are currently based now in that city, along with some KPIs on the right. We have Spotify monthly listeners, followers, popularity, just in case you want to know who's maybe available there. If you want to do some maybe brand activation or something local, you can kind of find a quick way to do that here. Next section down, and forgive me, I'm just going to speed through this real quick, just in case people have questions about this or something else later. Top artists by Spotify monthly listeners. So we actually are able to look at the monthly listeners for certain artists that are in that specific locale. So for Kendrick Lamar, for example, of course, he's from the LA area. He has 793,000 Spotify monthly listeners in Los Angeles, which is a pretty cool feature you can do. You can look at, different artists by searching for them here, which is pretty neat. You can search by genre if you want to, which is pretty neat, just kind of like a live search feature. Next section down, top artists by YouTube video views. This is daily views. Of course, Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. He recently passed away. He has the most YouTube views in the past month, and these are daily YouTube views. So he has actually been getting, his tracks have been getting 381,000 daily views on YouTube in Los Angeles over the past month. We kind of average that out to come up with that number. So you can look at, who's kind of trending in terms of that on the video streaming platform. Here, top artists by Shazam chart occurrences. So this is maybe a little bit harder to understand. And of course, if you ever have any questions about any of these sections, you can kind of always scroll over at what's this, and you can see a little pop-up to describe what it means. But over the past month, essentially, this is the number of times any one of the artist's tracks have shown up in Los Angeles's Shazam chart, because Shazam charts, if you were not aware, they are now available by city. So we're able to capture that and display it for you here. So as you can see, Nipsey Hussle, again, has almost 150 occurrences over the past month of his music being on LA's Shazam charts, along with a lot of other artists you see here. The next section down here is tracks. So these are top tracks by YouTube views, also daily views in Los Angeles. As you can see, Blackpink, the K-pop band, is trending with Kill This Love. This is their latest single, probably also very popular due to their recent Coachella performance. And then next here, we have the different genre tags. So if you're really interested in, what music have, Los Angelinos been Shazamming lately, as you can see, very much into hip hop and rap. Again, these are tags that have been Shazammed in the past, I believe, month. Yeah, last 30 days. Top tracks by Shazam chart occurrences. So kind of like what we saw a couple sections ago, but except not by artist. This is now by track. And you can always, search for tracks as well. Here's a Khaled off his latest album. One of his tracks here is on there. And then we have live events. So, if you're interested into, the concert vertical, this is what we have here. So over the past, it looks like a couple of years, we have Songkick events over time. So maybe if there's maybe not so much of a busy time and maybe you want to have something there, I will click on one of these graphs and you can see past events, which is pretty cool. In January, not so much of a busy time. Apparently in Los Angeles in October, there's tons of things that usually go on. As you can see, it trends over here. And again, this data source is from Songkick. And as a general FYI, if you're in doubt on our tool, just click on it and something cool will likely happen. And on the right here, we have, top artists according to Songkick popularity, which is pretty cool. Upcoming events, these are not past, but future events, which you can search for here, again, coming from Songkick. And last but not least is Airplay and top radio stations, again, from the same source that Mike had mentioned earlier from Radio Wave. We have all the different LA stations that it's not comprehensive, but the most influential ones according to our data source that we have listed here. We filter them by AQH to show their popularity. We have the top artists by Airplay, number of spins. Cardi B apparently is very, very popular with 1,200 spins in the past month. Same idea with top genres. So genre tags here, and then top tracks by Airplay. And that's it. I know we only have 3 more minutes, so I apologize for going on a little bit, but we're really excited about the cities tool. So if anyone has any questions, now's the time to go for it. I'm going to stop sharing this right now.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Jason. And I have to admit, that's the first time I've seen that feature. That's how new it is. So
yeah, we just released actually just last night. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's so cool. New, brand new. And we cannot be more excited about this feature because it's something that a lot of people, especially live events, concerts and venues, they've been asking for. And we had to do custom data dump again and again, which is costly for us, as well as costly for them as well, for customers as well. So that's something we are trying to do here with Chartmetric, with the technology. How can we lower the cost for both? 1/10, is our goal. And if we can lower sometimes to 1/100th, then that's a huge win for us. Yeah. Any questions we have there?
I'm just having a quick look. It looks like a couple more may have just snuck in there. Jason, this looks like a good one that you might want to perhaps talk to there. The question that's just coming from Henry.
I see that. I can adjust that actually.
Yeah, go for it, son.
Everything else is answered already by Jason. So please take a look at those answered questions. Maybe they are common to everyone. So the artist hometown info. So we are using multiple data sources. So Facebook, sometimes we can find the hometown data there. And we, from Music Brains, which is, we are a sponsor of Music Brains database, also has where artists were born. Sometimes from Wikipedia page, as you said, Wikipedia page mentions where this artist is from, where they are. So we are using multiple sources to find out, where they are. And one more source we have is Instagram, actually, Instagram audience analytics from there, where artists is posting Instagram posts, hashtags or location. Those are public information. So we pull the data from there. So multiple. A&R, so departments using analytics in the scouting. So this is like a longer to address. So I would say like there is also a tab, a premium only feature called A&R. We didn't go over A&R today, but on Chartmetric, on the top section, you can go to A&R and find out some of these lesser known artists who are trending in many different ways, either getting plugged into lots of playlists or suddenly getting huge views on Wikipedia or a huge number of followers on Instagram. So there can be multiple different ways. So you can find them here. But actually, in reality, I see people, what I see A&R people using Chartmetric, like with is by, like actually like you can hear about these upcoming artists from many different sources already. So but more likely you hear about this artist from your colleagues or someone else, or newsletters somewhere, and then you can type the artist here, and chances are that we've been tracking this artist already for several months or several years. So you can see the trend, whether it's an overnight success or only thanks to the recent campaign, or this artist has been building up the real audience for several months, several years already. So that's the real A&R, in my opinion. Okay, one more suggestion. So Billboard charts, great question, Nick. So Billboard is, like they started to track Africa. That's great. And Spotify several months ago also added lots of regions in Africa. So this is great. And I hear, there's this what is it, streaming service that's booming, made in China now, like it's huge in Africa. So more and more people are joining from there. I can see. We are not showing Billboard charts yet because that's their business. We actually reached out to them to license this chart, but we haven't heard. So if anyone can make an intro for us, we would love to integrate Billboard charts to our section, to our product. But with that, if you visit blog.chartmetric.io, want to mention, like we actually recently did an analysis on Billboard, men versus women, how much market share each gender has on Billboard. So I strongly recommend you take a look at this. This article, we regularly post articles here, whatever we find. It's called Gender Play Gap. Quoting Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits, but going down, we show gender ratios across Billboard, Spotify, and Apple Music. It's a very, very intriguing article, so please check it out, blog.chartmetric.io. All right, do we have more here?
I think that's it. I do have one more important thing to share, though, real quick with the group as we wrap up our time here. So let me just share my screen. We just want to thank Courtney and Gina for setting up this webinar. We appreciate it, Courtney and Gina. So I just want to say thank you for helping us put this on and helping organize it for everybody. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. I think that this was super engaging. I know for me, I'm kind of new at A2IM, so that was really interesting for me to just see what you guys are doing, and it was very informative. So of course, this entire webinar has been recorded, so there will be more information about where you guys can access that if you want to go ahead and share this or rewatch it. And then I don't know if you guys want to share your contact information with everyone. If they have any questions, they can also, anyone that's watching this can reach out to anyone over here at Team A2IM, and we're more than happy to relay those questions to you guys as well after all of this. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to say thank you personally as well. I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to speak to the A2IM audience as well. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope we didn't talk too much and overwhelm anyone, but that you can imagine what it's like when we all get together. We're all nerds in one way or another, and we love it. But just to mention, for anyone that does want to reach out to us, our email is hi@chartmetric.io, and that goes directly to the team. So it doesn't just go to one of us. That way you can send it in and the relevant person will respond to you with the answer to your question. We welcome any questions, any feedback. We're always growing. I mean, a lot of these features that we've showed have been the result of feedback as well. So it is really important to hear from you.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Again, for me, this was very informative, so I hope everyone that attended feels the same. And yeah, we will all be in touch if anyone wants to see this again or, ask any questions. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Gina. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you. Bye.